So more Kentucky news. These are recent developments. This is from an article from the CourierJournal.com. I only got one article left. And a side note, I'm not going to do any stories from Lexington.com because they require you to sign up for some shit, pay some subscription to get their news. And I don't know, I refuse to pay for my news. It's age of the internet. We should not pay for information. If you want us to read your stories, I don't know, get your money from your advertisers. That's where you get most of your money from anyways. Okay, so Kentucky, the legislator is now going after their own. They're eating themselves, right? They're devouring themselves. Recently, there is a man, Representative John Arnold, representative out of Kentucky State Legislature, who's since resigned, but the Legislative Research Commission Director, Bobby Sherman, was investigating. His office was investigating Representative John Arnold, and John Arnold went ahead and resigned, and now the LRC Director, Bobby Sherman, who was investigating Representative John Arnold, is now being questioned about his sexual, there's allegations for him being a sexual harasser too. He's resigned, and then when the person that was getting harassed told Representative Will Coursey just pushed it under the rug, moved her to a different office, and kind of didn't give a shit about what had happened to her. Now, Representative John Arnold, he had smacked an intern's ass and grabbed another's panties. There's the LRC director, Bobby Sherman. He resigned from the LRC director, but he come back and shredded a bunch of documents, which is tampering with evidence, but it's hard to prove that unless they could find the shreddings. I guess it's easier for a paper trail than it is online trail, but he could have also deleted everything on the hard drives and on his emails, which is what the Bush administration did with the Iraq War, right? They deleted all their emails. No declassified documents. They ain't going to let anybody know what was going on. That would have been nice if WikiLeaks could have got those emails. So, of course, he is a Democrat from Simpsonia, vehemently denied the allegations. I can tell you 100% there have been no inappropriate conversations. Which sounds suspect. He's only talking about no inappropriate conversations. There could be... it says something about inappropriate jokes and statements, so maybe that's okay. It says that Coursey repeatedly tried to date interns in his office. Also had inappropriate jokes. So, he tried to shred the documents. They declined the comments. Stumbo. Okay, so. Sexual harassment charges. It seems also like dominoes are falling. One person's a sexual harasser, everybody's a sexual harasser. So, hide your wife, hide your kids. Everybody getting sexually harassed in Kentucky's legislature. I talked about before how Steve Beshear, the governor, and the Kentucky State Police rounded this posse up and got Jack Conway on board, the Attorney General, to issue basically a signing statement, and this is law. He's the Attorney General. He's the one that interprets the law. And that's saying that hemp is still illegal. You cannot raise hemp. And he wanted to make sure that, that everybody knew that he could take property. If you try to raise some hemp, he's going to take your property. Under the hemp law, there are just a couple pointers I just wanted to mention. The Kentucky State Police, they do background checks. So when hemp is allowed to be raised, the Kentucky State Police will do background checks on those people who are raising hemp. So I suspect that there's, drug charges or, felony charges, definitely, I guess, they would be exempted from raising it. But that's something, to be mindful of. The Kentucky State Police do background checks for if you're trying to raise hemp. The Department of Agriculture is the one that's going to be in charge of administering it. It's going to be very similar to the tobacco program, which I understand. There's a quota system, and so you sell out so many quotas. You can get 100 acres of hemp and all the rest. You can buy, your options. I guess every piece of land probably has so much option of being able to raise hemp. And all the research for the hemp that's going to be raised in Kentucky is going to be done at the University of Kentucky. So that's you know, that all that information actually was from WFPL Philip Bailey's, which is NPR. He's a dickhead, but it was good reporting, somewhat good reporting actually. I don't know. I'm suspect of him. You know, he jumps on Jack Conway, you know, saying this shit. I don't know. I didn't like the way he treated Curtis Morrison or the PAC, especially when there was real news. Curtis Morrison brings real news, and the entire Louisville establishment media treats him like a fucking asshole. He represents the turning point of Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell looked pretty strong, looked like a fighter. When they found that tape, you know, that was the nail in his coffin. That tape. I mean, he was basically a low-down, dirty scoundrel ready to take Kentucky's sweetheart, Ashley Judd, drag her fucking name through the mud, was excited about it, like, oh my God, you know. In her book, she said that she has, you know, mental health issues. It's great, I love this. She also had, you know, rape. She was raped, you know, and she also was, you know, molested and had a lot of hardship, poverty, abused. Alone, you know, and isolated in the middle of Kentucky for quite some time. So I would think her conditions and environment had a lot to do with, you know, her mental state. And actually, she's, you know, 40, 50 years old, so for her entire adult life, Mitch McConnell's been the fucking senator. So if you would have, you know, financed mental health research here in Kentucky, Kentucky's #1 for mental health abuse, mental health, you know, crazies. We're number one. And also, I heard America's #1 for mental health issues in the world. And we're #1 and #1. So a lot of crazy shit happens in Kentucky. And that's true. You know, you got men being forced to eat their own beards. You got 5-year-olds shooting 2-year-olds. Recently, there's a couple of teens, actually. One brings a gun to school. Who knows what that was about? You know, Michael Carneal, Charlie Manson. I mean, it's fucking Kentucky, okay? So, yeah, so Kentucky, we could do better. But mental health issues, right? So it just showed that Mitch McConnell is such a fucking prick. He's such a low-down fucking, it's a whack-a-mole, he can't wait. He fucking insulted everybody in Kentucky. He was like, Jack Conway, how come you're not running for senator? And Steve Beshear, how come you're not running? And John Yarmouth, and basically every top politician in Kentucky he was just shitting on. He was like, who's going to be the next Obama's fucking lapdog? So he's fucking scared. He's fucking scared of his position. And this is I forgot to mention actually this before, but with Ed Marksberry, this is significant with Ed Marksberry because when he's going to run as an independent, and he's green, so that means he's actually more liberal than the Democrats are, which is a good thing. That will box Alison Lundergan Grimes into actually being a real, honest candidate who speaks for the people's issues, which is actually very similar to what's happening right now with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is going to be very responsive to Kentucky's needs. You got something that you want? Ask Mitch McConnell. He will get it done for you. Okay? Mitch McConnell is being faced with a primary challenger in the Republican Party, of which is saying he is more conservative than Mitch McConnell. A lot of people call him Tea Party, even though he's never been Tea Party. He's a rich businessman, has money, can support himself, has like 20 kids from 20 different countries, a huge family man, successful businessman, has the money, is serious, and he's poised. I saw a website that says something about, you know, this is your time is up, Mitch McConnell, or something, just like just blatantly put it out there. He had a quote at the fancy farm: "I'm not going to run to the left of you or the right to you. I'm going to run right over top of you." But he is saying he's that national true conservative, so that means he's running to the right of Mitch McConnell. At Fancy Farm, both Alison Lundergan Grimes and Matt Bevin, had recognized that they are bedfellows because your enemy's enemy is your friend. And so Mitch McConnell is boxed in between Alison Lundergan Grimes and Matt Bevin. And actually all news stories should have all three of their quotes in it because, you know, Matt Bevin's running in the Republican primary. He's saying he's more conservative, which pulls Mitch McConnell to the right. But you got Alison Lundergan Grimes, who's a Democrat, and you, I guess, assume that she's, you know, more liberal, and should be pulling him to the left. And so he's got to, you know, actually come up with the great, straight of the course, honest decisions. I wanted to make a correction earlier. I had said that he was only 16 of 30 years that he's been in office was under a Republican president, but that's not true. So he actually got into the Senate. Let's see. He assumed office. It says okay in 1985. So in 1985. That was Ronald Reagan till 88 and 92. You know, George Daddy Bush, right? Papa Bush. You had Papa Bush for 4 years, and then he was under Reagan for 3, and then 8. So actually, I guess it was less than what I thought before. Okay, well, it's a correction anyways. So instead of 16, it's 15. So a little bit less than half of the years that he was in there. But still, 15 years. You've had, when Bush was in office, for the 8 years he was in office, you had absolute control. You had conservative Supreme Court, conservative, president, conservative, Republican, everything, but in Republican legislature. So all 3 branches of government, it was just totalitarian control. Whatever Bush wanted, Bush got. It's sort of kind of like how Obama is right now. Obama was able to take those same reins of dictatorial power and pass more pieces of legislation than Harry Truman. So, Mitch McConnell, he's a prick, right? He's low down, dirty, backstabbing. And he's not gonna win. There's no way. I'm moving out of the state of Kentucky if this motherfucker wins. He's got so many attacks coming from all the sides, and people are gonna feel sorry for this asshole. 30 years you've been a senator of Kentucky, and what the fuck have you done? Kentucky's got perennial problems in poverty, health care, mental health issues, which you mock, and you laugh, and you take, you think it's hilarious whenever like a poor person falls down in the mud. That's why you do the fucking fancy farm, you have this weird sadistic grin. You're a sociopath, a sadistic fucking psycho who has, you're like, I made fun of Alison Lundergan Grimes' daddy. I'm funny. But you ain't funny, motherfucker. Okay, that's important for Mitch McConnell's sort of boxed in, but Alison Lundergan Grimes, because Edward Marksberry is going to be running as an independent at a Green Party, he's going to have a Ralph Nader effect. We're going to have a Ralph Nader effect here in Kentucky. Woo! That's great. It's a great thing. So you need to understand this, okay? Edward Marksberry has no chance of winning. He's an independent. He might be able to get a lot. He might win. Okay, I don't get it put it past him. Anything's possible. But most likely, what's going to happen is he's going to get 5%, 10% of the vote. If he can get 5%, he can get a new political party, and he can get some benefits that way. What is important for 5 to 10% is that he would be, he's a liberal, so he would be actually taking votes away from Alison Lundergan Grimes. And Alison Lundergan Grimes is a Democrat, and she's, being hit by not being pro-coal enough, and she's not anti-abortion, and she's not a fucking Republican. So that's all, she's going to be Obama supporter, and she's going to do all this, she's for health care, So Alison Lundergan Grimes is boxed in too. With Edward Marksberry. When by Edward Marksberry dropping out, he was the only challenger, the only one that I knew about against her in the primary. So actually, she secures the Democratic nomination, but she will be pulled to the left by Edward Marksberry, because if she doesn't pick up those liberal issues, if she doesn't say, health care is good and education is good, build bridges and roads and have public works projects and food stamps, if she doesn't defend social programs, then all those votes are going to go into Edward Marksberry's pocket, and he's going to, I don't know, those are my issues, but his issues, I know he's a Democrat. He points out income inequality. He's an environmentalist, so he's against mountaintop removal. He's against the destruction of the environment by the coal industry, very much so, very adamantly so. So, they want to sit there and say that Ashley Judd is too anti-coal. Like this guy is like, he's like proud, basically that I think he's like, is anti-coal, and it's anti-king coal, the coal industry, the coal corporations. It's not the coal workers. They have a pretty good job, and they used to be unionized and help out communities. I don't know if they inspire the same solidarity that they used to back in, the days of Bloody Harlan, 1930s and 1970s. 30 seconds. I'm going to actually have to do another one. But there's coming up next time. I have there's a teen that brought a gun to school recently here in Louisville. There's a teen that threw a cup of ice on the cops. A university professor canceled it because some weird person was walking around campus. Humana is getting sued because of lies about Obamacare that they're spreading. And then the police are now taking pictures of everybody's license plate indiscriminately.